They came to us as gods, and we, like fools, took them at their word. Mefret Ran, the deceiver, Aza'Gorod, the Nightbringer, Iash Udra, the endless swarm. I curse their names, and the names of all their malevolent brethren. What's up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and that was a quote by Cesarak, last of the silent kings of the Necrons. Now this is a topic I've wanted to cover for a while now, and it's the most, well in my opinion, the best that the Necrons have to offer. It is the C'tans. Out of all the Necron lore, even their gameplay, the way the models look, I've always been attracted to the Necrons, both physically and sexually. But enough about that. Here are 40 facts on the C'tan known as the Nightbringer. Aza'Gorod, the Nightbringer, was one of the omnipotent beings known as the C'tan. C'tan are those who take delight in inflicting pain and suffering, not only to feed on the life energy of mortals, but simply because they can. The Nightbringer has destroyed entire star systems on a whim, and has gorged itself on the death agonies of countless of billions of lives. The very star under which Necron race lived their brief, morbid lives gave birth to the vast sun-spanning entity of pure energy that was the Nightbringer, the first of the C'tan to be contacted by the Necron tier, the intelligent species that ultimately became the Necrons. Aza'Gorod inhabited the Necron's home star, feeding on a steady diet of bland but nourishing solar energy. The Nightbringer was also the first of the C'tan to enter a necrodermis body prepared for him by the Necron tier so that he could interact with the matter of the physical universe. The Nightbringer, just like all the other C'tan, found the souls of living intelligent beings much more tasty than the raw energy of the stars that he had been feeding off of for millions of Terran years. The Nightbringer then began to massacre the Necron tier after being transferred into his new body, and he began to feast upon their souls, and he was only stopped from further feeding upon them due to a heavy dose of persuasion and pledges of eternal servitude. During the war in heaven between the Old Ones and their allies, the C'tan and the Necron servants, the Eldar war god Kala Mensha Kane fought the Nightbringer and destroyed him, shattering his necrodermis host body into countless shards. These shards impaled Kane, tainting him forever, while the Nightbringer simply transferred his essence into another necrodermis body that had been prepared for him by the Necrons. Only the oldest of Eldar legends say that gradually the Nightbringer began to fall further and further from the Necron tier's original purpose, that purpose being bringing it to the material universe in order to destroy the Old Ones. Instead, the Nightbringer began to destroy and feed on intelligent beings at will, and it reached into the minds of almost every being in the galaxy and planted its image into their deepest and darkest fears. He urged entire species to fear him, and then he fed on that fear. Eventually, the Nightbringer began to feed on other C'tan, finding their energy essence to be of most delicious form. How it was persuaded to consume other C'tan is explained in several different ways. Some say it was the other C'tan, Mefret Ran the Deceiver, that convinced the Nightbringer to consume his fellow brethren, while other sources claim that it was Kegara, the laughing god of the Harlequins, who did so in a successful attempt to get the C'tan to turn upon themselves. Soon after the C'tan began to feed upon one another, the Old Ones and their servants counterattacked the Necron tier. By this time, only 4 C'tan remained. The onset of the Ensaver Plague ended the war in heaven prematurely and forced the C'tan into their stasis tombs on certain Necron tomb worlds to await the regeneration of a large population of sentient intelligent life forms across the galaxy. The final plan of the C'tan to feed upon all intelligent life in the galaxy was prevented. The Nightbringer's most potent weapon, its scythe, had been banished into the Immaterium during this battle with the Eldar god Cain. This prevented the Nightbringer from gathering the energy necessary to break out of its entombment until it was accidentally freed by the Ultramarines in the late 41st millennium. As if we needed another reason to hate on them, right? Those Ultramarines. Anyway, the Nightbringer had planted its name as the embodiment of death in the minds of many races. To the Eldar, he is known as Kalis Ra, the Destroyer of Light, while humanity simply referred to it as the Grim Reaper, or Death. Only the Kork and their Orc descendants escaped the fear of death, having never been targeted by the attentions of the Nightbringer. The Nightbringer was ultimately buried 10 kilometers under the planet of Pavonis' surface, entombed there when its flagship, the Bringer of Darkness, a Necron tomb ship, was badly damaged by an unknown alien fleet and crashed on the surface of this world 60 million standard years before the present. The 4th Company of the Ultramarine Space Marine chapter, led by Captain Uriel Ventress, was sent to Pavonis to guard Ario Barzano, an Imperial adept, who was later revealed to be an inquisitor of the Ordo Xenos, who intended to dethrone the planetary governor of Pavonis for failure to pay the world's Imperial tithe. Tensions on Pavonis were running high, and eventually a civil war broke out. The trade cartel that infiltrated this war was also digging into the recently discovered location of the Necron tomb of where the Nightbringer was last seen at. They believed that the Nightbringer would grant them immortality as a reward for freeing him, while a dark outer cabal in cahoots with this expedition collected the keys necessary to unlock the Nightbringer sarcophagus and unleash its horror upon the Imperium, with the Dark Eldar intended to reap millions of human souls to serve as their slaves in the chaos that would ensue. When the Ultramarines and the Inquisitor heard of the civil war that had broken out in Pavonis, they made haste for the planet, and they rescued the planetary governor, and then began their investigation on the cause of the civil war. They discovered that the cartel's real plan was to dig up this Necron tomb and unleash the Nightbringer. The Inquisitor was ready to initiate exterminatus upon Pavonis, but Captain Ventress urged an attack on the mine in which the digging took place before resorting to such drastic measures. Unfortunately for the universe, the Nightbringer was awoken as the Space Marines entered the tomb. They tried to combat it, but many of the miners and the Space Marines went mad or committed suicide as the C'tan's presence filled their minds with visions of death and horror. Eventually, the miners all died at the hands of this creature after realizing that he was too insignificant for the Nightbringer to even notice, much less reward. Ventress soon realized that his Astartes could not defeat the Nightbringer, even in this weakened condition, but he remembered that the tomb was filled with explosive fumes. Ventress brandished the Meltabomb and informed the Nightbringer that he did not believe that even it could survive another million years of imprisonment beneath this planet's crust. The Nightbringer then stopped its assault following the threat, and Ventress and the surviving Astartes retreated from the tomb. The Ultramarines then launched an orbital strike on the mine, but unfortunately for them, the Nightbringer had already escaped from the planet. After being forced back into the void of space by Ventress, the Nightbringer fled to a distant part of the galaxy, where it began to harvest power from nearby stars, slowly rebuilding its strength for the slaughter to come. It is said that another shard of the Nightbringer was eventually discovered in the Golga system by the Ordo Xenos. A Deathwatch team was then sent to recover the artifact, only to find the system rife with both biological and mechanical undead. After many months of warfare, the Death Watch was able to recover and destroy this shard. And with that, that brings us to the end of yet another 40 Facts video. Now I really like these freaking C'tans, but they are OP as hell. Now I am trying to include them into my own lore on the 11th Legion, the Celestial Sons, but they're so OP, I'm trying to figure out a way of actually having that Legion somehow contain them. Now I feel like just having them like raid a Necron tomb world and, you know, have the Tesseract Vault with one of the C'tan shards in it seems a little too easy for them. So I'm trying to figure out how I can incorporate that a little bit better into their lore. But anyway, what did you guys think on the Nightbringer? Did you guys like this embodiment of death? Did you guys like its lore? I think it's pretty cool, man. These are freaking star gods, supposedly able to rival the chaos gods. Now I'm not sure if that's been retconned or whatever, but now they are shards. So they're like weaker versions of themselves, yet they're still incredibly overpowered and amazing. Now as you can tell, my throat is burning, so yeah, I'm still sick, guys. Anyway, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Also, we are ever so close to 50k subs, which means it's giveaway time, so keep on liking, keep on sharing, and also got about a week or so until the end of the deadline for your 40k art submissions, so send them in to our Facebook page. And that's all I've got for you guys. As always, I am the Sound Alchemist, here part of One Mind Syndicate, and I am signing out.